Hello YouTube friends and neighbors. This is week 7 of the Dolly Vlog Hop. Today's question is, what advice would you give to a person when someone calls them weird for playing with dolls or that they're too old to be playing with them? That's a very hard question because, any adult toy collector or someone who's no longer a little kid, someone who's, 13, 14, 15 years old, they're going to be stigmatized because they're playing with toys or dolls. And, my whole life I've kind of been bullied and made fun of, and just collecting has just been one of those things that I've always liked to do that kind of takes the stress away and makes me feel more comfortable in life. Just able to function. If I can wake up and be excited to go find something, go hunt down the next piece of my collection, then I'm just focusing on the fun in life instead of the negatives. And I think a lot of people that make fun of people that collect or make fun of people that play with dolls, they maybe there's something missing in their life that they're commenting on what you do. I mean, I find toys to me are a form of art. It's not children who make toys, it's adults that make toys. Toys are played with by kids, but toys are designed by adults. Toys are marketed by adults. Toys are, if you go to Toy Fair, I go to Toy Fair every year, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, tens of thousands of adults there, all looking at toys, playing with the toys. Toys are an adult thing. If you're older, just say, you collect them because you appreciate the art. You appreciate how they're made, how they're designed. To you, it's like a Picasso. And then a lot of people, they turn their collecting into a career. They were, take me for example. When I was a kid, I would say high school or so, I started selling pretty regularly pop culture and toys, and I was selling comic books and figures. And toys just became what I loved. I collected them, but I also sold them. I bought them. I would try to find rare ones to sell at garage sales. Toys just became my career. And now my wife and I run a store, and we buy and we sell collectible toys, and we sell to kids. And I honestly say my store is for kids of any age, from practically born till 80. And we sell things that are people of all ages appreciate, because it's a lot of times it's just a nostalgia thing. It sends you back in time. You time travel in your head when you see a toy you had as a kid or someone you knew had it as a kid. In standard society, someone who plays with and collects toys as an adult will be seen as weird. So you just have to own the fact that maybe you're a little bit different than the norm, but that's okay. Because you are. I find it weird, someone who really likes sports and wants to sit and watch people bash each other all weekend. But I'm not making fun of those people, because if that's what they like, that's how they de-stress, that's cool. If, family members are getting on your case because you're getting too old to collect toys or you own too many, I would say don't be defensive. Don't attack the person who's making fun of you, or don't be like, well, you have too many shoes, because being negative about it just does not help anyone. What you want to do is tell them how it makes you feel. Say you collect toys because you really enjoy the artwork or the design of them. You enjoy toys because you really, it makes you happy to find that new rare thing, and it brings joy to your life. Or maybe if you're someone who customizes dolls, say you really enjoy customizing them and you want to learn more of how to make the artwork. Maybe you want to be a doll artist. Some doll artists make hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every time they customize a doll. If someone brings up the topic of your doll collecting, just turn it into a positive. Just start talking about what you like about it. Just make it all about the joy and the passion you have, and not really about the negativity of you being weird. Because you know what? Everyone's weird in their own right. Is it weird to, smoke cigarettes all day? That's kind of weird, smoking. But, I don't want to make fun of people if they're smoking. Is it weird that someone likes to run 4 hours a day? It's healthy, but is it healthy to run that much? I'm saying is everyone kind of has their own things that they do to cope with stress and anxiety. Life is full of a lot of stress and anxiety. If someone brings up your collecting, they think it's weird. If you react in a negative way, if you attack them, if you yell at them, if it starts a fight, then that person is just going to associate your weird collecting, quotation marks, weird collecting, as a negative bad thing, and they want you to stop. But if every time they bring it up, they're like, oh, you're doll collecting, that's weird. If you make positive how happy you are and how it brings joy to your life and how much fun it is, then that person might start associating, you know what, this is a fun, happy thing, and they'll start having those negative thoughts. If a family member sees you happy, no matter how weird they think you are, they're going to want you to be happy. So they'll start, instead of thinking those negative thoughts to you, they'll start thinking, because it's really easy to be defensive, or sometimes it's just easier to ignore people. And ignoring is good for yourself, because when you ignore someone, it takes the power away from their attitude towards you a little bit. But if you bring this joy of, if you try to share your joy with them, then it will seem a little bit less weird, right? Because then they'll realize, oh, this is something they really like. This is something that brings them joy. Oh, they really enjoy that. And then maybe they'll buy you a doll, or they'll participate a little bit in what you do. I mean, I've been called a hoarder because I have way too many toys. But to me, just the thrill of finding them, and the thing is, I like them. I want to do displays with them. I like setting them up. I just like having them in my life. They're just, to me, they're works of art. Someone actually sat there designing and sculpting every single toy, adding the details, painting them. There's a whole large process that goes into creating this little works of art. And I just think they're just so awesome. I mean, think of how many hours that go into designing and sculpting every single toy that's made out there. And so if you can bring that joy of the art of toys, bring that knowledge of it to people, it's hard for me to explain this, but if you're always positive about it and you show them that you enjoy it and you bring up some of the reasons you enjoy it, maybe they'll be negative to you, especially, if a stranger calls you weird, they're just strangers, just treat them like they're crazy people. It sounds like, oh, you're weird, you're holding a doll. That's fine, they're a stranger. That same stranger could be, the aliens are coming down to abduct you, be careful. It's going to be so foreign, you just ignore it. Don't let it bother you. And if people are harassing you about what you do, think about it as like a homeless person harassing you for money when you don't have it. Sometimes just people can't help themselves and they're not going to stop. So the best thing to do is just ignore it. But if it's a family member, I can kind of understand, because this is someone you will have to live with or see at family events or have to deal with all the time. People like that, I can kind of understand if that's just too overwhelming to be harassed by this person. But like I said, as long as every time this person kind of harasses you or attacks you, just bring the joy out. Tell them why you enjoy it. Just be like, I really love it. But don't say it in a way like, well, screw you, I really love it. I don't, get argumentative, because being argumentative never works. It's really hard to be argumentative with family members, because all that's going to lead to is animosity and anger towards everyone. And then your collecting habits go in the closet and you hide it, and then they find out that you're collecting again and they get mad at you. And in the end, the reason why you collect is because you enjoy it. It's something that's fun to you. You don't collect to piss off your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, your children. You collect because you enjoy it. And maybe you get to the point where you become too much of a hoarder or something that will affect the other person. Well, then you just maybe have to listen to what they're saying. But if they just think you are, you're 14 years old and you're still collecting toys, and they think you're weird, and why are you still do that? You should be buying makeup or sports equipment or whatever, whatever someone who's 13, 14. Remember, that's just a phase. Because some people, they grow out of toys, they grow out of collecting, they grow out of these kind of things. But that just, it's a phase. For some people, they grow out of it a little bit and then they come right back to it after they finish college. I mean, it happened to me. I was a big hardcore toy, comic book, that kind of collector until college. Then I was really into sports for a while. And then I came back to it when I was in my 20s. And one thing I do is I collect a lot of the toys that my siblings had, because I played with my brothers and sisters when they're little. So to me, toys kind of have a connection. So, sometimes I just can whip out a toy that my brother had, and my collecting seems a little bit less weird because it's something that maybe he'll remember. Or I'll grab a toy that my mom had. Or I'll grab a toy that my sister had. And it just brings back that kind of bond of when you were kids. And there's just some people that are just not toy people. It's just the way things are. And I know it's hard, but sometimes you just have to form a thick skin and ignore it as best as you can, because some people just don't know the joy you're having. And you just have to remember, to you, it's something that's a ton of fun. So if you're letting them you're giving them the power. If they're making fun of you, you're giving them the power to take that joy away from you. And sometimes you just have to remember, this is your thing. You do it. It's a lot of fun. That's like saying you got to stop loving the person you love just because they think it's weird. No, you're not going to do that. Or let's say you have an autistic child. I mean, and someone says, oh, they're weird. It's not going to take your love away from that person. That's just the way, that's life. That's what you are dealt with. So I hope, if some of you guys are upset or suffering from people that are making fun of what you do, my hope is that you stay strong and realize that there is a community of people that love this kind of stuff. And you just go to those message boards, go to those Facebook groups and talk to those people and just focus on the fun and try to only focus on the fun, especially when a family member is harassing you or making fun of you. Just always focus on the fun, and then maybe it'll eventually click and they'll realize, this is cool, and they'll become more supportive. So I hope that helps. I missed last week's. I've been dealing with a couple family issues. Last week's question was if you had any dolly regrets, and I was planning a big long video. I didn't have time to do it, and I felt kind of bad, kind of sad, because I really like doing these videos. They're a ton of fun to me. So I'm just going to list my one dolly regret, and this was 1999. The movie Iron Giant came out, and I loved that movie. That was one of my all-time favorite cartoon movies. And I bought all the toys, everything possible that I could buy, but there was one giant doll. And that one giant doll, he was, like 2.5, 3 feet tall. He was really, really, really big. And he was at the Warner Brothers store for $45. And it was out of my budget at the time. I was like, I'll buy it another time. I'll maybe find it on eBay cheaper. Because I didn't think it was selling well because they had a bunch of them. And I never got it. And the price shot up on eBay to hundreds of dollars. I've only seen it maybe 3 times on eBay since then. I don't look all the time, but every once in a while I'll look just thinking about it. And the last time I saw it sold for like $400 or $500. So I kind of regret not buying that one. But other than that, I mean, as an adult collector, for pull-up dolls and fashion dolls, for the most part, I've been able to get the ones I want. When you have enough money to buy what you want, as long as the prices aren't too ridiculous, you give it enough time, you'll end up finding what you want. And I can't remember anything I sold. The only stuff I can kind of regret selling is some of my childhood toys, but not really any dolls, because I wasn't a doll collector until I was older. And some of those I've sold, but I've pretty much replaced since then. And there's a few comic books I sold that I regret that I'm still trying to replace. But for the most part, I'm a crazy collector. I'm weird. I like being weird. I'm so happy I'm not weird. I like being weird. Weird is fun. I embrace it. If someone calls you weird, thank them. Because I think I'm doing right. If people said, oh, you are so normal, I'll be like, gosh, I don't want to be that. Alright, well, if you enjoyed my video, please thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye!